Well, hey, welcome back to another Dueling Excel podcast. I'm Bill Jelen from Mr. Excel, and we have live this time Mike Girvin from excelisfun. Mike, how are you doing?
Woohoo! Doing great.
All right, hey, we got a special episode today. It's not so much about dueling. We are announcing Mike's brand new book. You can see it there on my screen. It's called Slaying Excel Dragons. Mike, how's it feel to have the book almost out?
Absolutely great. It's been a long time, almost 2 years, I think.
Oh, it's been horrible. Everything that could have gone wrong with this book has gone wrong. From editing delays to just a layout that was horrible, and we had to redo it. I remember that we had a great a great deal. People could have bought this book at Walmart at Christmas, except Christmas is long since passed, so we lost that one.
And Amazon too. Lots of people pre-ordered, and then boom, Amazon canceled it.
Canceled all those. They didn't believe we would ever get there, but we're there right now. The book is up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. They are printing the book. I think February 18th the books will be bound, and then from Ann Arbor they hop over to Chicago and then down to the distribution centers for Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Borders, and shortly thereafter they'll be out. Of course, if people are in a hurry, the ebook is out right now. You can go to mrexcel.com where you can download the ebook. This is a great book. I have a lot of books that I've written and a lot of books that I published, but I've never had an Excel book that was targeted strictly for beginners. All of my books always assume that people use Excel 40 hours a week, and I am really thrilled that we're publishing this book, Mike, that is pretty much targeted for the Excel beginner.
Yeah, based on all my years of teaching beginners and also entertaining questions from the working world, seeing how people really use Excel. This book is for the beginner. However, the book really tries to tell a story from beginning to end without leaving any holes in the story. So, for example, sometimes when people talk about formatting, they forget to tell people that dates are serial numbers. So this book is great for the beginner, also great for the expert. A lot of us kind of just learn on the fly, and as we learn, we have lots of holes, but hopefully this book will tell a great story from beginning to end about how to use Excel.
Yeah, that's right. As I was going through, finishing up the layout and doing the index, I was amazed as I would keep finding stuff that I had never known before. Like, for example, let's say you enter a number here, 0.25, and you realize, oh, it would be really good if I would label this number, right? Well, a great way to go up is to hold down Shift when you press Enter, and then you're right up there in the label cell. I was like, wow, that's wild. I never knew that one. So even though this is a book that's targeted for the Excel beginner, it was a book that, I got a lot of great little gems from. And hey, I'm Mr. Excel, so, there's something there for everyone.
By the way, I got to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to write this book.
As I was reading the book, I could tell. So you teach this stuff quarter after quarter in your class, and I could tell the spots where you knew that the students were going to have trouble. You were able to say that this is something that you need to pay attention here or something like that. And so it's not just someone who's using Excel in the real world, but someone who watches a lot of people who are new to Excel learn about Excel, and you're able to kind of call out the spots that they need to pay more attention to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we talk about percentage number format, there's 6 different ways to do percentage number format, and very few people know all 6 ways. But if you know all 6 ways, you are not going to get in trouble when it gets to that topic.
Yeah, this is really good. I can see where if people to go through the book, what is about 500 pages, 550 pages, and actually absorb this material, they will be able to walk in and get a great job or a better job or impress their boss. There were even a few points in the book where you said, hey, during your Excel interview, during your job interview, show the guy this trick, and he'll fall right out of character and be amazed that you know that trick. So just a really good book. Well, hey, Mike, let me throw this over to you, and why don't you show us a few tricks that are your favorites from the book?
First thing I was going to show you is Chapter 5, Formula and Functions. We look at, right off, I describe what are formulas, and I give you the 5 types of formulas you might Encounter, calculating, lookup, text, logical, and array. So again, the idea that you get a complete list right off the bat. Not only that, but elements. Most of us think of equal signs, cell references, functions, but there's a bunch of things that you can actually put into a formula. And let's just start out. I'll show you an example of a calculating and a text formula. And again, this is one of those examples. This is on page 136 to 140. We have a little data set, and in the real world you have a big data set, but we need to count the number of cells above 500. So of course we use the COUNTIF function, and we go ahead for the COUNTIF. We say, hey, here's all the data points, comma, and then we need to tell it the criteria. Now, if we were just to click right here, it would just count 500s, but we need greater than 500. So we're going to put in double quotes a greater than. Now we have to join that comparative operator to this 500. That becomes greater than 500.
3.
That's an example of a calculating formula where we get some sort of number answer. If we change this to 300,
300.
Boom, we get 6. But whoa, wait a second, the label didn't change. So we can actually do a text formula here to have our data analysis formulas really amaze anyone who's going to use it. Now, this is all text. I went ahead and put it into edit mode. But you can actually put all this text into a formula and have part of it variable. So I'm going to put an equal sign and then double quotes. Text always in a formula goes into double quotes. And then again, we're going to use that ampersand, Shift 7, that joins. Now I'm going to click on this. So we've joined two things, some text. That's one thing you can put in a formula. And ampersand, which is the join symbol, is another thing. And finally, cell reference. Now, when we go ahead and change this back to 500, we can see our label and our text formula and our calculating answer both update. Now, one final detail. We could, if we wanted this formatted, we could use the dollar function. No way there's dollar function. The dollar function takes that number and formats it for a text formula. Now, by default, the decimals are 2, so we're just going to leave that argument out.
Number of sales greater than $500. 200.
So there we have a label and a calculating formula. Again, most people don't think of doing this kind of detail, but if you do that, boy, you got a nice little data analysis set up. Another one for the book. Yeah?
Mike, that was another one. I've always used the text function for that, where I have to put in quotes the $0.00. And when I read about the dollar function, that was one where I was like, whoa, I've never used that. That's wild. That's a good one.
Well, the text function, as you've done in many of your podcasts over the year, it allows any number format. As you know, this one just is currency. And it's actually annoying because if you put a minus here, it shows up as nothing. No, it shows us up as parentheses. So that's where you might want to do the text function like you usually show. But dollar, if you got positive numbers, that's a nice little trick. Another one, percentage number format. A lot of us, percentage number format, a lot of us get a decimal like this. 0.03, right? 0. And then we apply the number format on top. So Control 1, and then we can apply a number format, percentage, 2 decimals. Now, notice what we did. That's the number that sits in the cell. This is the format as facade we're going to put on top of that number. We can see a little sample here. That number is the 0.03 is in the cell, but that's what we see on the surface of the cell. And where people get into trouble is they oftentimes type a 3. And then they go ahead and apply the number format, percentage, and then they're shocked that they get a 300%. And the idea here is that 3 still sits in the cell, but when you apply the number format, it's doing its job. It's showing 300%. So really the way to get around that is to type in the 0.03 like we did up here instead of the 3. Another way you could get around this is if you pre-format these cells here, Control 1, percentage, and then 2, then it doesn't matter how you type it in. You could type in 3, the fact that it's pre-formatted, we see that percentage, or you could type in 0.03. And yeah, we don't see the pre-formatted symbol, but when I hit enter, boom.
3.00%.
Another way to go is to format as you type. You can literally put a percentage symbol, and it formats as it types.
3.00%.
The final kind of trouble that people get in with percentage number format is they start with a decimal like this,
0.025.
and then they use the button up here on the ribbons. And they see 3% and they're freaking out because they think all their tax calculations will be incorrect. But really, you could see up here in the formula bar it says 2.5%. And if you increase the decimals, boom, there it is.
Okay, so that's where I can see that you probably had a dozen students that came up with every one of those problems over the years. And things that if you use Excel 40 hours a week, you just know this stuff. But it's wild to see the problems that are very frustrating to someone who's new to Excel.
Yeah, that 3, I think I've been asked that question more times, not only from students, but people out there in the working world than any other question. That one right there. If I go back to general, type in that 3, hit this button, doesn't work. All right, there was kind of 3 examples from the book. So there's.
What do we have? We have the print edition. It should be out, late February at your favorite bookstore. The ebook is available right now on MrExcel.com. If you have an
You're kidding. It's available right now?
Right now. It's available right now. Go
I'm
buy
going
it.
to have to go to MrExcel.com right this second and buy an ebook.
There you go. And then if you have the Apple iPad, that should be another week or so for us to get that through the Apple Store. So just about any venue out there that people want to try this book, they can try it out. And I'm sure they're going to love it. Mike, I'm glad that we finally got this book to market. I think there were many times where you thought it was never going to happen, but we're here. So.
No, but it did. And a couple other things. I'm going to make videos that show the entire book, and that's going to be available on a CD through your site, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to get that out. Yeah, absolutely.
And for teachers who might decide to use this book, I'm going to have a set of homework problems that you could download and use for each chapter in the book. That'll be out in a couple weeks also.
Wow, that's wild. That's a great idea. We'll make it really easy. Mike, one of the things I read in your bio, and I love this, is you don't just teach Excel. You teach Excel and accounting and statistics?
Yeah, no, I teach statistics, finance, math, accounting, all these content classes. So student signs up and they think they're getting 5 credits of really hard quantitative class, but then I slap 3 extra credits of Excel into each class also. The thing is, though, is Excel makes all their calculations so much easier, they never mind it. And more importantly, all of them know that to get a job in this day and age, you have to do finance and accounting in Excel, not on paper.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love the fact that you teach all of those classes completely in Excel, all of the homework in Excel. Really, that's the way that life should be done. Everything should happen in Excel. So that's a perfect scenario there.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Now we just got to get all the teachers on the planet Earth, not only in business, but in physics and chemistry and on and on and on, to use nothing but Excel.
Well, that's good. We want every teacher teaching Excel to be using this book. So if you know anyone out there who's either trying to learn Excel or who teaches Excel, hey, send them our way. And they will love this book.
Okay, well, Mr. Excel, all I can say is thank you 100, 200, 300%, and I will format that 300% correctly.
Excellent. There we go. Well, hey, I want to thank everyone for stopping by. We'll see you next week for another Dueling Excel podcast from Mr. Excel and
Excel is fun.
Woohoo!
Woo!